the call.
I'm not talking about LAPD. I'm talking about them filing a complaint on this website against a short-term rental. Can we use the same website and file a complaint against a long-term?
Doesn't mean anything. It's up to the official city enforcement agency to find a violation. So whether it's short-term rental or not, the Los Angeles Police Department is usually responsible for determining whether it's a violation, whether it's short-term rental or not. They're not going to ask you on the phone. They only care about one thing or the other. Again, the complaint line doesn't do anything except for if the party doesn't get resolved through neighborly means of calling the host and saying, hey, can you quiet it down? That's what it's trying to do first before we get them involved, because they've got better things to do. But if it doesn't get resolved, then it would go to the same call station as any other call to the LAPD. How can one sign up and participate in the webinar for
next week's webinar on the 24th?
Give a shout out. Yeah.
Hey guys, we have a webinar. All this information will be presented again October 24th. You can sign up at the same link that you signed up for this. If you did not, there's flyers in the back with the reservation and RSVP link, as well as links to, if you don't have the email address, it's on there as well in the back. But yes, feel free to sign up for the webinar if you would like to see this presentation again.
You haven't had enough of me, my voice, and so many ADU questions. Wow, we began our ADU conversion before the ordinance was passed. We cannot have tenants, so we need a short term. Can we modify building plans? So that's unfortunate. I'll just say this. I don't mean to be negative, but the very earliest draft we released in 2016 had a very explicit ban on ADUs and second dwelling units. Short-term rental was never allowed in the city, as I mentioned in the beginning. It was always an illegal activity. I know that's a significant investment. You thought this was the way you were going to pay for it. I don't know what to say except that it was always not something that was being considered. It was always something in our drafts that was not allowed. It was never allowed before. That's the answer. Is homeowner allowed to rent out primary home while out of town? Yes. Some cities have said you have to be present. It has to be a hosted stay. There's no such regulation in the city. As long as you're a primary resident, you come and register with the city. There's no requirement that you be there for every waking moment your guest is there. You can go out of town and rent out your place if you'd like to. Are documents necessary when renewing for the second year? Good question. The renewal process is not going to be as intensive in uploading all those documents. I believe it's going to be as simple as verifying all your existing information is correct and not changed, and paying the fee. So you're not going to need to upload new documents, I don't believe. I think it's as simple as that. We're still a little ways from that, but I think it's meant in the ordinance to be a much simpler renewal process, not a full-on registration process.
These two are kind of similar about registering now and versus like the 120 day reset.
Yeah, people are wondering, when should I register? Should I wait? Should I do it today? Should I go and wait till November 1st? I think what this is getting at is, the 120-day clock. Like, right, some people that registered on July 1st are now coming up against that 120. People that are registering right now are not. It's kind of an introductory. It's kind of a thing that is just inherent with the way it rolled out in year one. It won't be an issue, obviously, in the future. But if you register today or November 1st, I don't think sorry. Let me say it again. Actually, we're not recommending you wait until November 1st or October 31st, Halloween night, the night before enforcement starts, just in case there's a glitch. We haven't had glitches, but I just don't recommend waiting until the very last moment on anything like this, because then you could be out of compliance on November 1st, just if something goes wrong. So we're encouraging people to get in. There's no reason now to delay. I know some people were waiting to make sure that 120 thing never hit them. We're beyond that phase. If you start now, you're gonna be able to go every day until the end of the year.
You're gonna do calendar year.
End of the calendar year, and then you get 120 days next calendar year. Thank you.
Even if you're not allowed to rent, you would suggest,
Sir, please.
Please, if you
How
can
will the
answer any
city-
questions that we-
But this is the fourth time you streamed that. Sorry, we're streaming right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just,
Being very respectful.
but we can't have. I'm sorry. We can't have. How will the city monitor the tenant is living in the property for a minimum of 6 months out of the year? How do we know you actually live there? How do we know you live there 6 months? I mentioned primary residence is 6 months. That's the documents you're submitting to us. Essentially, prove that you are the resident and that is your primary residence. So it's all through the documentation you submit to us.
What's the documentation?
So it's that photo ID plus about 6 or 7 other
What
forms
if
of
You
identification.
can have that and live in Paris.
Please, ma'am.
That was my question, so that's why I'm asking for some more clarification.
So it's, if your documents show you live there, and we think the documents show that you live there, you're good, okay? I registered for home sharing online, and at the end, I got a pending number, but I haven't got a confirmation email. What's the answer? Check your spam box. It should have been emailed to you. Check your spam box, we found that a couple times, it recognizes as spam. If you still can't find it, shoot us an email. Let me get our information screen here.
Planning.home-sharing.city.org.
There you go, right here. Here's the general information line to answer kind of general questions. Happy to contact myself or Bob. Bob is the planner who's really handling this day to day now. He's got a team, Tanya, Matthew, but Bob is the manager of the unit. But we're asking most folks to funnel their questions on home sharing to this general so they can be routed the best way.
We have note cards in the back as well with the links and the email address.
Yep.
If you don't take it.
It's coming from host compliances.
It'll come from host compliance. Thank you. That's a good advice. It does not come from an LA City email. It comes from the vendor doing our online system called host compliance. So if you can't find it, maybe search for host compliance in your old emails. You might find it, or check in your spam box. If you can't find it, we'll make sure you get a new one sent out to you by sending us an email. Okay, I went to rent 30 nights or more. 30 nights over and under 3 months. Do I need a registration number? What's the answer?
No.
Good job. Okay. So yes, we don't regulate at all rentals more than 31 days. The regulations are for rentals that occur less than 30 days. So you're doing more than a month. Your calendar is locked into that. You're not going to need a registration number, but you would then, if you do change your calendar to try to sneak in some short terms, we might find it. And that would be a violation. But as long as you keep your calendar more than 31 days, only accept more than 31 day bookings, you're exempt from any of these regulations in the home sharing ordinance. It's just for short term rentals.
I think we answered all of that.
Yeah. Is there any chance of getting the RSO exemption for a room in a home I own by November 1st? What's the answer?
No.
It's not going to happen by then. I mean, I told you council is considering an amendment to the RSO, perhaps some limited more allowances. That's not going to happen before November 1st. It's just being, I mentioned, brought to council for sort of initial adoption of that motion next week. So as fast as we work, we're not going to get an ordinance adopted in 9 days. But it could happen sometime in the future. It could not. We don't know. But again, we showed you how to keep tabs on that to make sure that you are up to date.
That's my card, so the other question on there is, can I get my $89 back that I paid on August 6th?
So you, I mentioned that when we have sort of some of this information in our system, so when you register, you should have been flagged that you're RSO, right?
Yes.
A flag came up and then we said, looks like you're RSO and not eligible, but if you'd like to proceed and tell us why you think it's an error, you can pay your $89. Sounds like you paid the $89.
Because I thought they would correct the obviously stupid part of this rule. That
Oh.
my own house that I own, I've never rented to anyone. And somehow rented to me, that takes me out of it.
Yeah, so that's not what that was about. That was if there's an error that you're actually not a rent control building. But again, if they amend the rules and allow folks, then certainly we'd be happy to have you once those rules change. But, so I don't think there's a refund for that. That's why we did try to warn, don't pay.
After I pay.
No, I think the warning comes before you pay.
I have a question regarding that.
Airbnb told us in writing, the city will honor reservations after November 1st that were made.
Yep.
There will not be enough housing for everyone else. So I don't know what Airbnb told you. I was at an event last night where somebody made the same comment that Airbnb told them it was gonna be okay.
Yep.
Sorry?
They told us that too.
Okay, so I'm just telling you that I've heard that other places as well. I was also, but at the same time last night, other hosts stood up and said, I asked the same question and they told me no. So I don't know what information they're telling people. I would say, don't listen to them, listen to the city, because we're enforcing the rules. We don't know what they're telling people, we can't control what they tell people, but that appears to be wishful thinking or incorrect information. I mentioned there could be, again, if we sign an agreement with a platform, there is the ability to consider some minor deviations to certain things. This could be one of them. We don't know if we're getting an agreement. We don't know if that's going to be in an agreement. That's all speculative. But at this point, the answer
We got
is
10
you
days.
cannot do home sharing unless you have that registration number.
But
You can't do short-term rentals without a registration number.
that was my, can I just add something to that last question, because it was mine? I'm just still wondering how the cities, there's not going to be enough housing in hotels or the remaining Airbnbs that are gonna be left, which will be about 10%. How are you gonna take care of these people who are gonna be standing at LAX with their bags going, I got nowhere to go?
So again, my understanding is they try their best to rebook people. We don't know this. So this is not the first city that's had regulations. Most
we're
big
the
cities,
largest.
please. So most cities in the country have very similar regulations around primary residency. In San Francisco, their number of listings dropped like 50% when their enforcement date came. We've been looking. What happened in San Francisco? Did the sky fall out? Did it? Okay. It's not my information. I wasn't aware of anything. I'm not saying I know everything that happened in San Francisco, but we've tried our best to figure out is there legitimate things that we need to worry about. We've talked to people in San Francisco, and it seems like it was a temporary maybe an inconvenience for people who booked and had to be rebooked. But there are plenty of hotel rooms around the city of Los Angeles.
For the rich.
When and how do we apply for extended home sharing? You can apply now. Well, no, you know when to apply. 6 months of being registered or 60 days of having done short-term rental since you've got